In the dark recesses of the galaxy, whispered among the stars and across alien empires, were tales of a terrifyingly efficient human unit known as the Shadow Company. These soldiers were not mere men, they were shadows, phantoms of death, appearing and disappearing with lethal precision. Their legends were whispered in hushed tones, stories of an elite group whose ruthlessness and guerrilla tactics had decimated entire battalions. To the aliens, they were the embodiment of fear, specters in the night, unstoppable and invincible. The command center buzzed with activity as Colonel Darius Vance stood at the helm, a formidable figure with a steely gaze. The Shadow Company had been summoned for a mission of utmost importance. An alien race known as the Xar'kri had been systematically annihilating human colonies on the fringes of known space. It was time to strike back. "Listen up," Men Vance barked, his voice cutting through the noise. "We've been tasked with taking down a Xar'kri outpost on the planet Draconis V. This is not a search and destroy mission. We're going in, hitting them hard, and getting out before they know what hit them. Standard guerrilla tactics. Hit and run, no mistakes." The men nodded, their faces grim and resolute. Among them were Lieutenant Alex Grim Nash, the demolition expert Sergeant Theo Hawk Rourke, the sniper with eagle eyes Corporal Isaac Ghost Drake, the stealth specialist and Private Leon Viper Ward, the close combat expert. Each man was a master of his craft, and together they were a force of nature. The journey to Draconis V was swift and silent, the Shadow Company moving under the cover of darkness. They landed their stealth ship a few kilometers from the Xar'kri outpost, the terrain a dense forest providing ample cover for their approach. "Move out," Vance commanded, and the unit dispersed into the shadows. Ghost led the way, his movements silent and precise. He scouted ahead, his keen eyes spotting every trap and patrol. The Xar'kri were known for their advanced technology, but they lacked the humans' adaptability and cunning. "Hawk, take out that sentry," Vance ordered, his voice a whisper in the comms. Hawk's rifle barely made a sound as he fired, the sentry dropping without a noise. The rest of the unit advanced, their presence undetected. They moved like wraiths, unseen and unheard, their every step calculated. As they neared the outpost, Grim planted charges on key structures, his fingers working with practiced speed. The Xar'kri had fortified their base, but they had not accounted for the Shadow Company's expertise. "Charges set," Grim reported, his voice steady. "On my mark," Vance said, his eyes fixed on the enemy encampment. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Explosions rocked the outpost, fires erupting and chaos ensuing. The Xar'kri scrambled, their defenses crumbling under the sudden assault. The Shadow Company struck with lethal precision, each man a whirlwind of destruction. Viper was a blur in close combat, his blades slicing through the alien ranks. Ghost moved unseen, his knife finding throats with deadly accuracy. Hawk provided cover, his sniper rifle picking off targets with pinpoint precision. Grim unleashed his arsenal, grenades and explosives wreaking havoc. The Xar'kri fought back, their weapons firing blindly into the darkness, but the Shadow Company was already gone, melting back into the forest. The Xar'kri commander, General Ka Thor, roared in frustration. His forces were being decimated by an unseen enemy, their technology and superior numbers rendered useless. He had heard the legends of the Shadow Company, but he had dismissed them as mere stories. Now, he realized the truth. "Deploy the hunters," Ka Thor commanded, his voice tinged with desperation. "Find them and bring me their heads." The hunters, elite Xar'kri warriors, fanned out into the forest. They were skilled trackers, trained to hunt the most elusive prey. But they had never faced anything like the Shadow Company. The Shadow Company watched the hunters from the trees, their presence concealed by the dense foliage. Vance smiled grimly. The Xar'kri had taken the bait. "Ghost, take point." "Hawk, cover him," Vance ordered. Ghost moved like a shadow, leading the hunters deeper into the forest. Hawk picked off the stragglers, his shots silent and deadly. The hunters realized too late that they were being led into a trap. Now Vance commanded, and the Shadow Company struck. Grim's charges exploded, trapping the hunters in a deadly crossfire. Viper and Ghost moved in, their blades flashing. The Xar'kri fought back fiercely, but they were outmatched. The Shadow Company's guerrilla tactics were too much for them. Within minutes, it was over. The hunters lay dead, their bodies scattered among the trees. The Shadow Company regrouped, their mission far from over. The destruction of the hunters had demoralized the Xar'kri, their confidence shattered. The Shadow Company pressed their advantage, launching a final assault on the outpost. "Hit them hard and fast," Vance ordered. "No mercy." The unit moved with brutal efficiency, their attacks coordinated and relentless. Grimm's explosives tore through defenses, creating openings for Viper and Ghost to exploit. Hawk's sniper fire kept the Xar'kri off balance, their leaders falling one by one. Vance led the charge, his rifle blazing. He was a force of nature, his presence inspiring his men. They fought with everything they had, their every move calculated to inflict maximum damage. The Xar'kri were in disarray, their forces collapsing under the onslaught. General Ka Thor tried to rally his troops, but it was too late. The Shadow Company was unstoppable. Draconis V was only the beginning. The Shadow Company's success spurred the High Command to assign them to even more dangerous missions. The next target was a strategically crucial communication beacon deep within Xar'kri territory. Its destruction would cripple their coordination. The approach to the beacon was perilous, the terrain rugged and the defenses formidable. The Xar'kri had learned from their previous encounters, fortifying their positions heavily. But the Shadow Company thrived on challenges. Eyes sharp, everyone, Vance said, as they moved through the dense jungle. "This isn't going to be easy." The beacon loomed ahead, a towering structure bristling with weapons and sensors. Xar'kri patrols crisscrossed the area, their vigilance heightened. "Ghost, find us a way," Vance ordered. Ghost slipped away, his movements fluid and silent. Minutes later, he returned with a grim smile. "There's a weak spot on the north side. We can breach it if we move fast and stay quiet." "Grim, you're up," Vance said. Grim approached the weak spot, his hands deftly planting charges while Hawk and Ghost provided cover. The rest of the unit waited in tense silence, the jungle around them alive with the sounds of alien wildlife. "Charges set," Grim whispered. "On your mark, Colonel." Vance counted down, and the charges detonated with a muted thud, creating an opening. The unit moved in swiftly, their presence undetected. They infiltrated the beacon's perimeter, taking down guards with silent efficiency. Inside the beacon, they split into pairs. Vance and Hawk moved towards the control room while Grim and Viper set explosives on the structural supports. Ghost, always the loner, slinked off to disable the security systems. The Xar'kri inside were taken by surprise. The humans moved through the facility like shadows, their attacks sudden and deadly. Vance and Hawk reached the control room, taking out the operators and planting their final charges. "Time to go," Vance said, his voice calm despite the chaos. They regrouped at the breach point, the charges ticking down. The beacon exploded in a massive fireball as they retreated into the jungle, the shockwave flattening trees and scattering debris. The communication beacon was no more. The destruction of the beacon sent shockwaves through the Xar'kri ranks. Their communication network was in disarray, and their morale was shattered. The High Command decided to capitalize on this chaos with a bold move, a direct assault on the Xar'kri flagship, the Xar'kri. The Xar'kri was a heavily armed and armored vessel, the pride of the Xar'kri fleet. Its destruction would be a crippling blow. The Shadow Company was tasked with boarding the ship and planting charges on its main reactor. "This is a one-way trip," Vance said as they prepared for the mission. "We get in, plant the charges, and get out. Failure is not an option." They approached the Xar'kri in a captured Xar'kri shuttle, using forged codes to slip past the outer defenses. As they docked, the tension was palpable. "Move out," Vance ordered, and the unit spilled into the ship. They moved quickly, navigating the labyrinthine corridors. The Xar'kri on board were caught off guard. The destruction of the beacon sent shockwaves through the Xar'kri ranks. Their communication network was in disarray and their morale was shattered. The High Command decided to capitalize on this chaos with a bold move, a direct assault on the Xar'kri flagship, the Xar'kri. The Xar'kri was a heavily armed and armored vessel, the pride of the Xar'kri fleet. Its destruction would be a crippling blow. The Shadow Company was tasked with boarding the ship and planting charges on its main reactor. "This is a one-way trip," Vance said as they prepared for the mission. "We get in, plant the charges, and get out. Failure is not an option." They approached the Xar'kri in a captured Xar'kri shuttle, using forged codes to slip past the outer defenses. As they docked, the tension was palpable. "Move out," Vance ordered, and the unit spilled into the ship. They moved quickly, navigating the labyrinthine corridors. The Xar'kri on board were caught off guard, their confusion playing to the humans' advantage. The Shadow Company executed their plan with ruthless efficiency, taking down any opposition with swift, silent precision. "Ghost, find the main reactor room," Vance ordered. Ghost led the way, his senses sharp. They encountered heavier resistance as they neared their target, but the Shadow Company fought with unmatched ferocity. Grim and Viper took point, clearing the path with grenades and close-quarters combat. Hawk provided overwatch, his sniper rifle picking off targets with lethal accuracy. Vance directed their movements, his tactical mind calculating every step. "There it is," Ghost said, pointing to a heavily guarded door. "The reactor room." "Grim, get those charges ready," Vance commanded. Grim set to work, planting charges on the reactor's core. The rest of the team held off the Xar'kri reinforcements, their ammunition running low. The situation was dire, but they pressed on, determined to complete their mission. "Charges set," Grim reported, sweat dripping from his brow. "Fall back," Vance ordered. As they retreated, the Shadow Company faced a relentless onslaught. The corridors of the Xar'kri became a battleground, the air thick with smoke and the cries of the dying. Viper's blades flashed, Ghost's knife found throats, and Hawk's rifle barked death. They reached the docking bay, but their escape shuttle had been destroyed. The Xar'kri had anticipated their move. "We're not getting out that way," Vance said, his voice grim. "We need a new plan." "Escape pods," Hawk suggested. "We blow the outer hatch and launch ourselves into space. The fleet can pick us up." "Do it," Vance agreed. They fought their way to the escape pods, their numbers dwindling. Viper was hit, a plasma bolt searing through his shoulder. He gritted his teeth, refusing to fall. "Go." "I'll cover you," Viper shouted. "No one gets left behind," Vance replied, dragging Viper along. They reached the escape pods and crammed in, the charges on the reactor ticking down. Grim activated the pods, and they blasted into space moments before the Xar'kri exploded in a blinding flash of light. The Shadow Company floated in the cold void, their escape pods signaling the fleet. Rescue ships arrived quickly, picking them up and bringing them back to the safety of the human armada. The destruction of the Xar'kri was a turning point in the war. The Xar'kri fleet was thrown into disarray, their command structure shattered. The Shadow Company was hailed as heroes, their names becoming legends. In the days that followed, they received commendations and promotions, but there was no rest for these warriors. The war against the Xar'kri continued, and the Shadow Company was always at the forefront, the vanguard of humanity's defense. Back on Earth, the Shadow Company was welcomed as heroes. Their mission had struck a blow against the Xar'kri, but the war was far from over. Vance knew that their fight would continue, that the Shadows would always be needed. As they prepared for their next mission, the men of the Shadow Company stood ready, their resolve unshaken. They were the phantoms in the night, the shadows that brought fear to their enemies. And in the dark recesses of the galaxy, the legends of the Shadow Company would live on, a testament to human ingenuity, ruthlessness, and unyielding spirit.